Well, hello, happy Tuesday, and welcome to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're tuning in live or catching me on the replay, I'm just so thrilled to have you here joining me. Happy Tuesday from wherever you're joining me from. Let's dive right into today's live level up conversation.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market update. Speed round. Award-winning financial pro. And now, get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends. I hope that you're having an incredible week. I hope that you had a nice Juneteenth. Hopefully, you had the day off like I did. The market was closed, as you know. And of course, hopefully, you're coming back from a really beautiful weekend, wherever you're joining me from. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome to the show. I'm Winnie Sun, your host, an award winning financial pro, Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member. And of course, we are streaming here live on over half a dozen different social media platforms. So definitely don't be shy. Jump on in, take a moment to introduce yourself, say hello. I see a lot of friends joining us from all the different platforms. Thanks so much for starting the week with us. Now, let's start as we normally do and tell you how the market closed. Unfortunately, a triple down day. I wish we had better news as we started off this shorter week, financial week, but unfortunately, Dow closed down 245 points. Nasdaq also down 22 points, and the S&P 500 also down in negative territory, down 20 points as well. So, what a day in the markets indeed. As the stock market closed once again lower for sort of the second consecutive day, as we know the market rally took a breather and after reaching some pretty large levels just a week ago. Unfortunately, some of the areas that really didn't do well, including the energy stocks, and falling by more than 2% for the S&P 500. But one area that is doing pretty well is the area of home builders. They've outperformed the market following a stronger than expected housing report. And despite the recent decline in the financial markets, investors are still coming off a really strong week. Last week was great. The S&P 500, the Nasdaq, all posted their best weekly performances since March. So we'll take it. As you know, part of that was driven because the Federal Reserve's decision to skip a rate hike this month, in the month of June, very well received by investors. You saw a little bit of optimism shooting into the financial markets last week, although we know that government official policymakers are still forecasting two more rate hike increases before the end of 2023. And investor bullishness uh, is well and very, very strong. In fact, it's risen, sort of reaching its highest level since November of 2021. This has been such a change. If you remember just 6 months ago, like there's all this talk about inflation, about how everything costs too much and you can't even find eggs at the supermarket. It was crazy how quickly 6 months ago in the financial markets, and now investor bullishness. I bet you haven't heard the term bull market or bullishness in quite some time. I certainly haven't used it on this show in quite some time. Well, we know that those in the financial industry, Wall Street is closely watching market sentiment this week. As we know, this is a short week because yesterday there was no uh, market trading. So, with limited economic data, we're just sort of watching to see how people feel this week. So that's what it is. Now, I want to segue sort of into the one of the big first stories that I have. I guess the first story I have today, and this is on the topic of student loan payments. Now, for those of you who have student loans, or like myself, used to have student loans, or have a loved one who has student loans, or know of somebody, well, this is really big news because, as you know, student loan payments have been on a 3-year hiatus, a pause, if you will. This was driven because of the pandemic. Now, the U.S. Department of Education has just announced that student loan payments will restart in October. But it's not just that they're going to restart in October. Interest on student loan debt will also start accruing again as of September 1st. Now, remember, um, this has been some time taking 3 years. So this is quite a bit. Approximately 40 million Americans have student debt. And to give you an idea, the typical monthly payment for these 40 million, individuals is around $350 a month. So that's quite a large amount. So the end of the payment pause is going to really be a significant financial adjustment for many borrowers across the United States. Now, the payment pause had provided substantial relief, with the average borrower saving about $15,000 in student loan payments. Now, this decision to end the pause in the fall this year is sort of the agreement that's been reached between the two political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, to raise the nation's debt ceiling, which include provisions for terminating the payment pause. So for students who have or individuals who have student debt, well, make sure to follow this very closely. Interest is going to start in September. And you got to make sure that you make that first payment on October 1st as well. I would actually recommend you consider making a payment before the October 1st deadline. The sooner the better, because anything you can pay prior will help you with the loftier interest that you might be paying on your student debt as well. So due dates for payments will, of course, vary based on individual account details, with borrowers receiving a loan statement at least 21 days prior to the due date. So, of course, you can pay sooner than that. But the Supreme Court's ruling on the validity of President Biden's plan to cancel up to $20,000 in student debt is expected soon. So hopefully they're going to hear soon whether or not that's going to be okay, which will, of course, impact the amount of borrowers owe come in the fall, when it starts all again. So an estimated 37 million people would be eligible for some level of loan cancellation, with about 14 million having their balances entirely forgiven if the plan is blessed and upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. So we will see. And of course, as I learn more about this story and how this unfolds, I'll definitely keep you updated. For those of you who had reprieve of student loan debt for the last 3 years, I'm sorry, it looks like it's coming to an end. Fall is just around the corner. Can you believe we're actually just a couple weeks away from July? It's craziness. Yeah. All right, so talking about craziness, let's go to our next story. And this is on the company called Amazon. You all know Amazon very, very well. Well, Amazon is getting some heat regarding employee safety. Their employee safety is under new scrutiny. The Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, which they use the term HELP, that's sort of the letters that they use, led by Senator Bernie Sanders, has initiated an investigation into Amazon's workplace safety practices, particularly in its warehouses. Now, you may have heard this before. I'm sure I've shared this on this show before. Amazon isn't known to be the best place for employee satisfaction. But Senator Sanders is saying in a letter provided to Amazon CEO Andy Jassy, criticizing Amazon's quest for profits at the expense of employee safety, highlighting, in fact, unsafe working conditions and inadequate medical attention for those who actually get injured. This is very concerning. Injured workers are said to have inadequate medical attention. That's not good. In fact, Senator Sanders has called for more information on Amazon's injury and turnover rates, as well as the data on its on-site medical clinic, one called AmCare, which dates back to 2019. Senator Sanders has also asked that any examinations in connection with workplace and warehouse injuries be shared ASAP. So Amazon has received this letter and is in the early stages of reviewing it, of course, responding to it. And of course, Amazon has now invited Senator Bernie Sanders, to tour one of its warehouses so he can see for himself that perhaps it's not as bad as he suspects. Now, this committee was created, has created a forum on its website for current and former Amazon employees to share their experiences and to provide testimonials on workplace safety. And of course, Amazon is already facing ongoing federal probes on a safety record with OSHA and the U.S. Attorney's Office and Department of Justice. So this is just adding more stress to Amazon's leadership, I'm sure. So hopefully that it is in fact better than what everybody's assuming, and hopefully Senator Bernie Sanders will be pleased with what he sees at Amazon's warehouse. But that's sort of thing that we're waiting to see. Amazon, if you need to do better, I think this is sort of your cue to hurry up and do so. Hello, welcome. It's great to see. I want to say a quick hello to Joshua, Cross Fighter on YouTube Live. Thank you so much for joining us. And I see we have a friend joining us on LinkedIn as well. Thank you so much. Wow, we have a lot of guests today on all different platforms. Thanks so much for being here. Definitely jump in, say hello, introduce yourself. I'd love to see who and everybody who's joining us live right now. All right. The next story is one that I would love to get your feeling about, because I know this is a topic that we've talked to our team at work, and I've talked to a lot of friends who work at different places of like, what's the future of work? Is the future of work hybrid? Is the future of work back in the office? Or is the future of work remote? Like, what is the future of work? Is it a certain trend? I know a lot of people enjoy working from home or remote, but is that still sustainable long term? In fact, well, let's just say there's been more and more rumblings coming out of not just technology companies, but a lot of different companies saying that the golden age of remote work is coming to an end. With tech firms bringing employees back into the office, we know Google has come into a scrutiny with their employees on that. Amazon, definitely Tesla. Them. We've heard from a lot of big companies. They want the employees back in the office. In fact, there's been a lot of talk about what this means and what is truly the future of work. And they're saying, a lot of analysts are coming in, business analysts are saying that the private sector will need to return to physical workplaces. And in fact, they're saying that managers and business owners and bosses are growing tired of remote work due to many, many reasons. They're saying it's detrimental to new hires and junior employees. I get that, right? I mean, if you have a sort of a mature employee base like we do, where everybody's worked together for many years, you kind of can be sustainable remotely a little bit longer. But for those, if you're hiring a new employee or a new intern, that experience hasn't been built yet. It does help to be able to be in the same space so you can train more effectively. They're saying that being physically present for onboarding, training, networking opportunities are really, really important. And they're also saying that hybrid work plans can lead to unproductive teamwork if not properly aligned. So for those of you who are watching, like, how do you feel about that? Do you think the future of work is back into the office? I feel like that's a tough call right there. Do you think it's hybrid, or do you think it's like still remote work? I mean, certainly remote work has a lot of positives, but they're also saying remote work has a lot of downsides, which I'm sure those of you who work from home would agree. Sometimes you just need, mental, physical health issues, are saying, different work environments, and the likelihood of being targeted for job cuts versus those who actually go into the office. That makes sense too, right? I think like business owners, managers, they want to see that commitment, and maybe that commitment is showing up back into the workplace. But saying remote workers put in 3.5 hours less per week compared to those who work in person at the workplace. This is according to a report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So any business owner that hears that isn't going to be too happy to hear that, because that's almost, considering, let's say it's a 40-hour work week, that's almost 10% less productivity you're getting versus having somebody be in office. So basically, a lot of analysts are saying remote workers may believe they are more productive and have better work-life balance, but it looks like the tide is turning against remote work, and that workers really have or may have more of a limited choice in the matter. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know the answer to that, but I do see, I'm seeing on like from a comment coming in from LinkedIn, are on staff for new hires office on staff for new hires, hybrid rewarded based on commitment. I enjoy working on office unless I have a cold. That's a great point. If you have a cold, if you're sick, please don't go in the office, right? Let's just keep everybody healthy. Hello, Sadiq, by the way, on YouTube Live. It's great to see you as well. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Is the future of work back into the office? Is it remote? Is it a hybrid? I'm hoping at the very least it's hybrid because I do think talking to my own team, like they're certainly I think they've really enjoyed working from home and it sort of worked for us. But I do agree with you. I think we need some face-to-face time and getting back together. That would be really, really good as well. Well, thank you so much, my friends, for being here. And I want to thank our esteemed audience, of course, for watching. My incredible creative director, Curtis, on producing this on the back end for us. And of course, tuning in tuning in to Level Up here. We appreciate you. We are a live show, and let's just say we couldn't do it if you weren't here. So it takes all of us to come together. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate it. And don't forget that you can find full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and many other streaming platforms. And don't forget to check out Yes Factor with Winnie Sun on Apple Podcasts and the LinkedIn Podcast Network. And with that, thank you so much for your support, and I look forward to seeing you again this week. Take care now. Bye.